Today, I eat lunch on Gillinvays Beach with my good friends Alfonso Buller and Harry De Silva. As we ate and drank, we talked of our lives here on the south coast, and also of our pasts. Harry lent me a book, Zorba the Greek. Later that day, on my usual spot overlooking the middle beach, I began to read the book. And as I read the words about the island of Salamis, I looked out over past Land's End and onto the North Atlantic Ocean, and my thoughts took me back to days of my past. Gradually I dropped into sleep. Many years before, I'd driven a London black cab down through Europe, and even ducked behind what was then known as the Iron Curtain on occasion. This story is about when I crossed the border into the land of Greece. At that time I was unaware that I was entering a country that was under a violent revolution with the intention of deposing the dictator Papadopoulos. This I was unaware of until many years later, when my cab was my home, my Posiedon's horse. This story is not about the shores of Pylos, it is about Salamis. As I crossed the border into Greece, I was immediately seduced by the climate, the air, the tall grasses, temples that I found off dirt roads. I drove my taxi up and down Mount Olympus. In those mountains I met with small boys that herded the goats. They lived in caves through the summer months, and the connection between those boys and the animals is something that will stay with me for many, many years. I walked through the mighty Lion Gate into the city of Mycenae, the domain of Agamemnon. I drove and climbed to the top of the Peloponnese mountains. I was in love with the country from the very start. I met with peasants. I learnt their humour, people who had nothing but had everything. I began to learn the language of these people so I could communicate. I chased the rainbow over the southern mountains onto Pylos and down even further south. I swam in the warm waters of the Aegean and fished for octopus. At times I would lie on my back on the seashore and watch the sun go down and the moon rise. I visited the ancient grounds of Olympus, where the games first started. I began to learn about the differences between Ionian and Corinthian columns. All of it fascinated me. I watched eagles soar in the sky and my heart rose with them. The peasants fascinated me. Their connection between the land, their animals and themselves was unbelievable. Eventually I travelled back north through that arid country. I travelled past the tall cactuses and the long, long grasses and back north to the island of Salamis. There's Apostoli and Yanni, and there's the old me sitting there. These guys were sons of the war and fathers of the revolution. And I was ignorant of everything that was going on around me. I lived for months outside Apostoli's shack of a restaurant. And this is what we used to do at lunchtimes. The proud Apostoli. Nikolai the Russian. Yorgo, and I fell in love with the sound of the bouzouki. There's the Countess, and there's my love at the time, Janice. Proud people who know how to live. Now, Custodian was reported to be one of the best dancers on the island, and he taught me to dance his dance. I wonder if I can still dance like that.